still have this relationship with Giles, and now we've gone on to the Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival that we're going to continue this relationship with the United Kingdom, with the Jazz Festival, Jazz and Blues Festival based in Scotland. Tell us a bit more about this. How did, Artscape's involvement, and where do we want to take this in the future, and what are we specifically doing for the immediate?
I think I first want to say from Artscape and arts industry and an entity, and specifically where we are currently in the world, first to say thank you to Giles, that is so passionate of always putting arts first, and also to Ben sitting here representing actually the English government as per se, and also to say from that particular point of view that the two of you have deemed it fit that a state entity as Artscape can be involved and also expose young people globally. We all have suffered tremendously under this pandemic COVID. And for us to sit here today in November, sign a document for the Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival, it's actually very emotional, because it makes us realize that if it was not for the passion, for us being alive, sitting the three of us here, to be able to say that we're going to have an exchange program for young people to do this exchange. But this program is more than just the Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival. It's about young people, about humanity, and it is about that we as the world through this particular pandemic became so small, and also became that it affected everybody. And that the arts who have been during this pandemic has been on its knees. But it's again the arts that's bringing humanity back to the people. And for us as Artscape as an entity, it is bringing us back to humility. That we could be part of the global community. A global community through the passion of Giles, who's been a partner with us for 20 years as an entity. Because we can only change the world bit by bit when young people meet each other across cultural diversity, across geographical boundaries, but also more important, it gives through the arts the prominence that we are all human beings at the end. And this is what this program is about. When you work together, because this is what this program is about, young people across the globe, from Costa Rica, from Colombia, from Cuba, from Scotland, from the UK, from South Africa, from Brasilia, is going from Zambia, is going to work together in one project, on one piece. There is no time at the end to say that we don't understand each other. We're going to journey together. I think this is the importance of this body of work. So Giles, from us sitting here, we can just say, we can have all the paperwork, we can have all the money in the world, but if we don't have the passion and to know that we want to deliver and implement and walk the talk of bringing together spaces, culture, diversity, it will only be on paper. So my friend, thank you.
You're welcome.
Giles, I think what Marlene mentioned was very, very pertinent, is the journey, that we've been on with you through all these years. See, tell us some interesting anecdotes about the journey, and also how does it, how does the arts with the arts festivals that you've been involved in with Artscape over the past 20 years relate to the eventual outcome of the new path that we're going into?
From what was a 45-minute discussion in a coffee house in Liverpool 20 years ago, became, grew and grew. It became something that I think neither of us really expected to happen. And, reiterating on Marlene's notion of it, people drive passion, people drive ideas. It's only through those passions and ideas that you can actually use the structures and systems that are out there to bring together resources that enable people to do things. I mean, things can happen without resources, but it's much harder. And I think it's probably true from my perspective that whether I know it or not, everything has been about legacy, about sustainability, about knowing that we actually don't have that much time in our lives, and what do we choose to do with that time? Who do we choose to do it with? So we draw together elements of our own personalities and elements which are of the world. We draw all those things together, and combined we actually create quite a force for change, a force for young people to come together, to share, to explore, and to go back to their own context more informed, better equipped, better able to be instigators of change, better able to multiply those ideas. Because, as all of us will say, we can no longer, in this pandemic, it's taught us one thing: we can't be national islands of self-identity. We need global solutions to many of these challenges. And that relates to the cultural sector as well. We are globalised, whether we like it or not. So we need to act in a global way. Yes, we can think local, but we can act internationally.
Consul General, before I come to you, I actually want to ask you another question. What Giles mentioned very importantly, the word that came out to me is youth. Now, Artscape has got lots of youth programs. And tell us a bit more, how does this tie into the overall vision of Artscape youth programs and the educational programs in that?
Artscape main focus, besides the performing arts, is education. We use the arts as a vehicle for social cohesion and bringing the geographical disadvantage that we still have together. But what is important with our programs of youth is that we're looking at ethical leadership, integrity, looking at how do we serve our country and our humanity, and not always ask, what is the government going to do for me, but what can we give to the government? And as Artscape, people will say, but aren't you just a performing arts centre? We're more than just a performing arts centre. We're creating opportunities for young people to find themselves, especially from a country that comes from a very difficult past which we called apartheid. And we as a country is on a journey of identity. Who are we as South Africans? And the world are always also asking this question all the time. What is identity? Where do I belong? Where do I fit in? And hence these programs that we're doing is to say to young people, come find yourself. Start to find your own narrative. Start to find, not to be defined by your past only. Your past can inform your future, but it can't be your destiny. And it's an important thing because we all mixed. We can't say globally, you are only this particular race. And I think this is the beauty of our education programs. South Africa, I want to say very boldly, is a nation, the world in one. And we grapple every day with identity. We have 11 languages with a 12th language which is our sign language. We grapple with the poor, with middle class, with huge divisions between rich and poor. But we are getting there because we are outspoken about it. So we say we would like also to share this journey with the world, with a journey where we can say with these 11 languages, with our diverse identity, we can't just judge the color of your skin and say, I belong to this group. And with our education programs, what we do with the programs with the UK, with this particular program, even with the Edinburgh Jazz and Blues Festival, we use the arts to navigate, to talk about identity, to look at political parties, for instance, by saying poverty doesn't know color. Education mustn't know color and identity. Education is to be equal. COVID was just a pandemic that brought out the worst in all nations. People that were poor came actually to the fore more during this particular period. And we want youth not just to look at brands, not just to look at instant gratification. We want youth to think critical. Think critical about what it is. What is wealth? Wealth now is about health. Wealth now is about knowing more about myself, caring about somebody else. If you work together on one piece, an arts piece, you need to work on team play. You need to work on the aesthetic of how are we going to look on stage together. So the individual is not the only person, it's the collective. So our education programs are based on the collective. Our education programs are based on that your diversity is more about a plus, a positive, than previously it was a negative. So the more diverse you bring to Artscape in our education programs, the more positivity you bring in to the party. And this is what our education programs is about. And I think that is where Giles and I, when we 20 years ago had this click that we need to start and work together, was also my disability. Hence the fact that our programs are not just based on our diversity of disadvantage. We also bring advantaged young people together, because if you are from the leafy suburbs and you grew up actually in a home that had everything, you actually somehow disadvantaged, because you don't know globally what is out there. So coming to disability as well, being a person with a disability and proud and being a woman, our education program is also about gender equity. It's about empowerment of persons with disabilities. It's mainstreaming. It's also part about the gay world is, and it actually saying you can be whoever you want to be as long as you respect another person. So we take our constitution, our first law of our constitution is human rights with responsibility. And this is what our programs are all about.
Consul General, I'm sure from this discussion you must have seen that there's a great symbiotic relationship, between Artscape and between Giles and all the projects that we have in the past 20 years. Now, with the UK, South Africa has come a long way, I think since 1405 or something like that. We're now in the new democratic South Africa for 27 years. What do cultural relationships, especially between the United Kingdom and South Africa, what positivity is there within the realm of the global politics?
Well, good question, and I think Marlene and Giles have actually answered a lot of it. Giles was saying that, you know, we can't solve the problems of the world anymore on our own, and the pandemic has shown that. And Marlene is talking about you know, the richness of diversity, and I think the ideas that diversity bring are going to help us find those solutions. And the reason that we need cultural exchanges, that the passion of these two has brought for 15 years, it's going to continue for a long while by the sound of things, is about, as I see it, connections and understanding and trust. So connecting people from the countries that Marlene listed, from Cuba to South Africa to Scotland, you know, it helps those young people to have a greater appreciation that we are all human beings. It helps us to understand people's values and beliefs. And by doing all of those things, I think it brings genuine relationships, long relationships, partnerships. And so the UK supports projects like this to build those long-term partnerships. What we're looking for with South Africa and what we have with South Africa is a range of partnerships over political, economic, but also cultural relationships, so that we can understand each other better, work better together, and find win-win partnerships for both countries.
And
I just want to add, one of our main things which we, over these years of exchanging, of young people visiting each other's countries and each other's homes, which is very important. This is not a superficial exchange. You visit each other's homes, you experience each other's pain, so friendship have been developed over these years. Even marriages have been developed between young people. Now these young people are leaders. They take from the bag of skills. Now they're political leaders. And for us it's important that we look at leadership, of ethical leadership, to put the people first. So part of this whole program is to build a global movement of young people who think differently and who think differently about society. And also we enrich each other, because obviously the poverty in Costa Rica is perhaps sometimes different from the poverty in Zambia, different from the poverty in South Africa, but also not taking away the skills that everybody brings together. So it's not just about the money. I want to make it very clear. This program, it's about human development. And what we need to look at, policies, can't be just on paper. It can't be just a tick box. So for us in a nature is that I support Giles when it comes to, when we apply for funding, we're very honest. We say this is what we're investing in. And it's not just we're going to send over dancers, but previously it was musicians, it was arts administrators and administrators globally, so that we're looking at how do we manage taxpayers' money, for instance. But also at the end, we're going to look at when Parliament sits in any country, Costa Rica, and there should be, we'll be looking at COVID vaccination. That young person will perhaps be a parliamentarian now, or sitting in the UK, and they will say, my good grief, Zambia needs vaccinations. They need to be getting the Pfizer or whatever. I need to speak for Zambia because I was there. So it's about the world starting to connect with this program.
I guess bringing some unity, Marlene.
Exactly.
Where you've got diverse people with diverse problems, but in their diverse problems in diverse countries, there's also similarities, where you were talking about the poverty in Costa Rica. People who experience similar problems here or elsewhere, there may be similar solutions. And I think it's that richness of discussion that helps to solve the global problem.
Consul James, that's actually a pertinent point that I wanted to ask before we can let you go. You know, the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Here are the British coming in again, you know, the political issue.
Yeah.
What has Britain or the UK learned? What have we actually brought to the party as South Africans? Because I think we've brought a lot. Not just with this project, but with the entire cultural exchanges over the past few years.
Yeah, well, I think that cultural exchanges, you know, open people's eyes. And the reason, you know, we want to welcome such a diverse group of people into the UK is so that our people can learn from all of those rich countries and those people that are coming to the party. So, I mean, I think it's endless what the relationships are. It's also the history. I think it's to help young Brits understand their history, understand the world in a better context, a more solid context, but also appreciate perspectives on the UK. I think until you leave the UK and travel the world, you have a one-sided perspective on the world. So by engaging with people in the arts, you know, the arts communicates history as well, and it can open people's eyes to new avenues and new ways of thinking. So I think South Africa comes to that party in a huge way. Every South African that I've met is hugely proud of the Constitution. Marlene mentioned the democracy that, you know, that is it's thriving here. People talk about, and we've just been through local government elections here, and the richness of debate. Every person in this country is in that discussion. So I think it's us understanding, or Brits understanding the world and our place in it in the 20th century. And I think that there's another value in, I hope that when these young people come to the UK, what they take home is modern Britain, which is rich, diverse. The UK is a melting pot of people from all over the world, of all different backgrounds. And so I hope that what South Africans will bring back here is an understanding and perspective of where the UK is now and where the UK, what it means to be Britain, which is forward-looking, innovative, creative, and open to partnerships and looking to partner with countries all around the world.
Giles, we're going to end off with you. You know, we've been with this project for the past 20 years. Looking into that looking into that looking glass in the future, where do you think you would like to see this, you know, this legacy of Artscape, yourself, that we've built up over the past 20 years? We're celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the building. And we would hope that we will celebrate in another 30 years, the 50 years of this partnership, and beyond and beyond. Where do you think you'd like to see it?
It draws on strands that both Ben and Marlene were talking about. For me, hitting 60 was a big deal, and your mind starts to think about succession, about clocks ticking. What do you want to see? What do you want to leave in place? What has your life been about? And what I want to see is not what I want to see. What's there, what's happening, is what I feel, think, and believe. It's not about one person's vision. It's about the collective narrative. It's about the way we move forward globally to solve challenges and issues and problems. And celebrate. You know, one of the most amazing things about this program has been that nature of celebration, communality, that closeness, that respect. You may not speak the same language, you may not have the same religious background, you may come from a different economic context, but you can celebrate and you can share that celebration of who you are, what you feel, think, and believe, and that's what is there. It's not what I want to see, it's what's there, it's out there.
Thank you very much. Do you want to add something?
I just want to say the best thing of this program is that we're all volunteers on the program. And for me, it's always so good to see how the staff, in particular of Artscape, of this institution, don't get any extra payment. They give of themselves. And if it's one thing that we want to share with the world, is that if you believe in something, and if you believe in young people, and you have a purpose, you give of yourself and you give more. And this is what this program is about. No one gets extra. We all put equity and sweat into this program.
We will throw those stones in the lake and watch the ripples.
Yes!
Well done.
Thank you very much. I think we all do a better television program than TV.
And it's a wrap.